If you lift the seat on a 2026 motorcycle, you do not see an engine. You see a lock system never meant for your hands. This is not an accident. It is a coordinated war on your wrench. Manufacturers have spent the last decade systematically sealing every access point on your motorcycle, the hardware, the software, and the parts supply. And now they charge dealer rates for the privilege of fixing property you legally own. In this investigation, we will expose exactly how they did it, which manufacturers are the worst offenders, and what your only two options are if you want to stay out of the dealership forever. Here is exactly how they stole your garage. In the old days, if your throttle position sensor failed, you pulled over, ordered a replacement online for $30, and bolted it on in your driveway. It worked, because a sensor was just a sensor, a piece of copper and plastic with two wires coming out of it. Today, if you install that exact same sensor on a modern motorcycle, the bike will reject it. The ECU scans the replacement part the moment power is applied. If the serial number does not match the manufacturer's encrypted approval list, the system locks. The bike goes into limp mode, or it refuses to start entirely. The part is perfect, the installation is correct, but the computer refuses to allow it. To fix this, you tow the bike to the dealership and pay them a diagnostic fee just to plug in a laptop and tell your motorcycle that the new part is allowed to exist. They have digitized the wrench, they kept the password, and they are charging you $150 every time you want to use your own bike. This is not about safety. It is about killing the independent parts market and forcing every repair through the manufacturer's own service network at manufacturer prices. But the parts lock is just the first wall. Before they locked the software, they locked the hardware itself. Manufacturers call it packaging optimization. We call it a blockade. On a 2001 Honda CBR 600, changing the spark plugs took 15 minutes, a socket wrench, and basic mechanical confidence. It was a Saturday morning job that any rider could handle in their own garage without instruction. On a modern inline-4 sport bike, the airbox, the fuel tank, the subframe brackets, and in some cases the exhaust headers have to be partially or fully removed before you can reach the plugs. What used to be a 15-minute job is now a 3-hour teardown with a torque wrench spec sheet and a genuine risk of snapping a fastener buried inside a plastic-shrouded engine bay. On several 2025 adventure bikes, the battery is sealed beneath a stack of fairings that requires removing 14 individual panels in a specific sequence before you can access it. One manufacturer's service manual lists battery replacement as a 2-hour labor job. 2 hours to change a battery. And on the latest generation of high-performance bikes, the valve clearance check, a basic service item that every experienced rider once performed themselves, now requires removing the engine from the frame entirely on certain configurations. What used to be a Sunday afternoon job is now a $4,000 dealership visit. They claim this is for aerodynamics and weight distribution. That is not the reason. They want you to look at that engine bay, feel overwhelmed, and hand over your credit card. You might think, at least I can still change my own oil. Think again. On many modern motorcycles, including current BMW GS and Ducati Multistrada models, the bike has an active battery management system. If you buy a replacement battery at any parts supplier and install it yourself, the bike will not recognize it. The charging system treats the new battery as if it were the old dying one. It overcharges the battery and destroys it within weeks. To fix this, you have to register the new battery to the motorcycle's computer. How do you do that? You go to the dealership, you pay them to click a button. They have turned the simplest maintenance task in motorcycling into a subscription fee. And the oil service warning systems on modern bikes are not timers. They are software-controlled service reminders that can only be reset with manufacturer diagnostic tools on an increasing number of models. Change your own oil and the warning light stays on permanently until a technician resets it. Some riders are reporting insurance complications because their bike's telematics log shows a persistent fault code during the period they claimed routine maintenance was performed. Your own hands are now a liability. To understand where this started, you have to go back to the first industry that lost this war entirely. Farmers were the first victims. They spent $400,000 on a modern tractor. A $50 sensor failed in the middle of harvest. The machine bricked itself completely. The farmer could physically replace the sensor in 20 minutes with a wrench. But the software would not recognize the replacement until a dealer technician drove out to the field and blessed it with a laptop. Farmers sat idle during harvest windows, losing thousands of dollars an hour, waiting for manufacturer permission to use their own equipment. The motorcycle industry watched that happen. They saw the profit margin, they saw the compliance, and they copied the model immediately. Now your bike goes into limp mode not because it is broken, but because a sensor reading is marginally out of range and the manufacturer wants you in the service center. The goal is not repair revenue, the goal is dependency. They do not want you capable, they want you compliant. And once they had your repairs, they came for everything else. Manufacturers have realized they do not make enough money selling you the motorcycle once. They want to sell it to you every month. BMW has already charged subscription fees to unlock full performance maps on models where the hardware is physically installed and paid for. Ducati has gated advanced riding mode customization behind connected service subscriptions. KTM's My Ride platform requires ongoing access fees for features that previous generations of the same bike provided without conditions. Think about the logic of that. You bought the engine, you finance the electronics, you insure the entire machine every month, and then the manufacturer puts a digital toll booth between you and the horsepower you already own. Honda tried a connected services platform that required an active subscription to retain certain smartphone integration features. Yamaha is rolling out remote diagnostic access systems that feed data directly to the manufacturer, continuously, whether you opted in consciously or not. This is not manufacturing, this is tenancy. They are converting the motorcycle from a product into a service, exactly like a streaming platform. And if you stop paying, they can reach into your bike through an over-the-air update and adjust what it does. So is the DIY rider dead? Not yet. But he is being pushed underground fast. We are already seeing the response build. Independent mechanics are sourcing bootleg diagnostic software to bypass dealership locks and actually service their customers' bikes. Riders are paying premium prices for models from before 2015, specifically to avoid the software ecosystem entirely. Online communities dedicated to ECU flashing, software jailbreaking, and analog conversion modifications are growing every month. People are keeping 20-year-old motorcycles running at any cost, not because they cannot afford new ones, but because they understand what they would be giving up. A 2004 Kawasaki Z1000 with 100,000 kilometers on it is a machine you own completely. A 2026 equivalent is a machine you are renting from a corporation that retains the password. The underground is not fringe. It is becoming the majority position among anyone who has looked closely at what modern motorcycle ownership actually means. Here's the verdict. If you buy a 2026 motorcycle, you are not buying a machine. You are becoming the primary user of a data collection device owned and controlled by the manufacturer. They control the software, they control the parts supply, they control the repair network, and if you fall behind on any of the subscriptions attached to your ownership experience, they control your access to features you already paid for. If you want to actually own your motorcycle, you have two options. First, support right to repair legislation in your state. Several bills are working through legislatures right now that would force manufacturers to provide diagnostic access to independent mechanics and individual owners. These bills are being fought aggressively by manufacturer lobbying groups. Your voice in that fight costs you nothing. Second, buy a motorcycle from before the lockdown. Buy a bike where lifting the seat reveals an engine, not a server. Buy a machine where a sensor is just a sensor and a wrench is all the permission you need. The window for doing that at reasonable prices is still open. It will not stay open forever. The war on do-it-yourself is real. They sealed the engine bay, locked the software, and surrounded the whole thing with a subscription model. But they cannot take away your ability to choose. Buy old iron, keep it running, and never let them tell you that you need permission to fix what you own. If this opened your eyes, please subscribe and drop a like. Tell me in the comments what the last repair you did yourself was and whether you would even attempt it on a modern bike.